Hello, New Life Church. My name is Byron Burell. My wife, Tasha, and I, we're the Connect pastors at the Greenbrier campus, and it's my privilege to be here with you on today for our devotion. Today, we're going to continue with our study of the life of David. Our focus is going to be on 1 Samuel chapter 29 and 30. Now, look, there's a lot that's going on in these two chapters, so let's go ahead and get started. David, he's still on the run from King Saul. However, in his journey, he's been able to find favor in this Philistine by the name of Achish. Achish basically took David in. He gave him the land Ziklag, but he also charged David to be his bodyguard. Now, to be somebody's bodyguard, there's a lot of trust that's there, right? And this is what David was able to do. This is what he was able to develop. However, there's still a problem that David is having. He's still loyal to King Saul. Even though Saul doesn't trust him, he thinks that David's trying to take the throne from him. But that's not David's idea. David realized and he knows that God has anointed him, but he's not trying to take the throne. All he wants to do is serve Saul. But look, he has to go, he has to run, he has to seek refuge from his enemy, the Philistines, out of all people, right? Almost sound like a soap opera. So here we are in chapter 29. The Philistines, they're getting ready to go into battle. The leaders come together, they putting a game plan together, and they realize that David is still there. And they ask Achish, why are they still here? And remember, Achish and David, look, they're tight, they have this relationship. So he jumps to David's defense. He said, look, there's nothing wrong with David. He's doing a great job. Leave him alone. However, the Philistine leaders, they're concerned. And their concern is when they go into this next battle, that David is going to turn on them, that he's going to fight against them, all to regain favor with King Saul. And they wasn't willing to do that. So they tell Achish, get rid of him, send him back. Family, listen. There are times in our life where God is going to create some tension. And that tension is really designed just to keep us on course. And I think this is what God was doing with David. He was trying to keep him on course. But also, there's time in our life when there's going to be some battles that we will be faced with. However, all battles are not our fight. And I think David was learning that lesson. So Achish goes to tell David that he and his men has to go back to Ziklag, that they basically fell out of favor with the Philistine leaders. Now, here's when David wins the Oscar. He puts on a show and he pleads his case before Achish. He says, what did I do? I'm your bodyguard. I've watched your back. I fought with you. All I want to do is go up against the enemies that's against King Saul, the king. Now, Achish tells him, I'm sorry, you have to go. But watch, here's God's hand that's still on David. Achish not only releases David from any further obligation, remember he's his bodyguard, right? But he also tells David, get up early in the morning, arise, you and your men, go ahead and leave, so there would be no conflict between you and the Philistine leaders. Still watching David's back. As we enter into chapter 30, David and his men, they're traveling back to Ziklag. Now, Ziklag is about 80 miles away. That's a lot of walking. When they get there, they find that Ziklag has been attacked. It's been burned. The women, children, all of their possessions have been taken. Someone came in, took their women, their children as captives, as slaves, including David's 2 wives. David and his men, distraught, broken, don't know what to do. His men are freaking out, and they've gotten to the point now they're talking about stoning David. David's in a bad spot. However, instead of losing his head, he requests for his ephod. David knew that this is not the time for me to just go off. This is the time for me to get into the presence of God. And that's basically what he did. Because what happens is this kind of stress, it can traumatize people. Even though David has been leading his men into victory after victory, they was ready to turn on him when they didn't know what to do. So as David gathers his ephod and he gets into God's presence, he asks God, do you want us to go after them? And God basically said, yes, go after them. But not only that, you will overtake them, and you will, without fail, recover everything that was taken from you. So David and his men, they went after those that attacked Ziklag. Earlier I said that some battles are not ours. David was not supposed to go into battle with the Philistines. God has something in store for David and his men, something that he had already prepared them for. So they take off in pursuit of their attackers. They came to Brook Beshor. The Brook Beshor basically empties into the Mediterranean Sea. Now, remember, they've been doing a lot of traveling, and there was about 600 of them in total, and 200 of his men, they felt that they couldn't cross this brook. So David tells them to stay and rest. So the remaining 400, they basically went with David to find those that attacked their city. And along their journey, they find this Egyptian slave. Somebody left him there for dead. David, being David, nurses him back to good health, and he asks him, do you know who basically attacked Ziklag? And the Egyptian slave said, yes, I do. However, I will only tell you if you keep me safe, if you protect me. And basically that's what happened. So the Egyptian slave takes David and his men to where these attackers were. And when they caught up with them, they found them spread out all across the land, eating, drinking, dancing, celebrating their victory against the Philistines and against the land of Judah. David and his men, they attacked them. Early that morning, they started fighting before the sun even came up, and they fought until the evening of the next day. That is a lot of fighting. However, just as God promised David, they recovered all that was taken from them. The women, children, livestock. God even blessed them with more than what was taken from them. On the way back, they met up with the men that David left behind. And those 200 saw David and the troops coming back. They got excited. They knew that victory was theirs. So they met David. And when they met them, some of the ones that went with David, they stopped them. They say, stop, slow down. Take your women, take your children, and you guys leave. If you couldn't fight with us, you're not going to share these spoils with us. David told his men, look, slow your roll, calm down. Everyone has a job to do. Some of us went to fight. Some of us stay here to watch our supplies. There's nobody's role is greater than the other. That is a good lesson that all of us can learn. David also blessed a lot of the other lands that protected David and gave him shelter and somewhere to stay when he was running for Saul. He basically remembered everybody that helped him. Two things I want you to think about. Number one, every battle that's out there is not ours. However, the battle that is ours, God has already prepared us for. And then two, we always have to remember that what the enemy takes from us, God would always give back to us, and he will always give more than was taken. I hope this was a blessing to you. Have a great day.